Chuck Akulis was the winner at 5 Mile Point. Tom Schwarz in victory lane at Tioga Speedway. And this week's M&M Trophy Outstanding Effort Award goes to Mike Clapperton. All that and more on this edition of The Race Report. Hi everyone and welcome to another edition of The Race Report. I'm Ron Hills. And if it sounds like a blast from the past, that's exactly what the next half hour is going to be. I was going through some old video looking for a specific clip to use with an interview. But I got so involved with all of this great footage and all of the fond memories that I decided it's time today to take a look back. So for the next half hour, let's enjoy some nostalgia, some great racing action from around the area, and let's start at 5 Mile Point Speedway.
Moving to 5 Mile Point Speedway, another win for Chuck Akulis. He took the lead and held on over Mike Colston. Doug Worthing was third, Dick Sundgren fourth, and Carl Nagel fifth. Completing the top 10 were Bill Williams, Butch Tittle, Mike Nagel, Dave Mead, and Nick Ryan. In the four-cylinder modifieds, it was another victory for the 60 of Steve Hill. Randy Davenport, the runner-up. Ed White was third, Ken Taylor fourth, and Chris Snyder fifth. Completing the top 10 were Dick Case, Pat Parker, Dave Getzky, Bruce Detro, and Matt Tripp. The street stock win, his first of the year, going to Joe Peer. He was followed across the line by Jerry Northrup, Jim Gabriel Jr., Bob Woosman, and Marty Goodwin. Rounding out the top 10 were Al McCraby, Roger Salai, Dave Kellerman, Jerry Colston, and Brett Jane. In Cortland, New York, Skyline Speedway, the late model winner, Newt Holcomb, dominating this year up at Skyline. Mike Rolwitz was second, followed by Bill Trigo, Tom Smalley, and Todd Willett. In the street stock 20-lap go, John Cooper picked up the win, followed by George Lynch, Chuck Forkey, John Morris, and Stu Coates. The four-cylinder street stock feature went to Mike Chilson, John Hammond the runner-up there, Jim Backus third, Rick Tickner fourth, and Bob Mills fifth. Tracy Williams the winner in the pure stock feature, followed by Joe Rafferty, Ed Morgan, Joe Brown, and Duff Krebs.
Here comes Sundgren again. Here comes Charlie Akulis down low. Williams continues to pick up lap money, running right in the middle of the track with just a little bit of a push. Here comes Chuck Akulis down the backstretch, side by side with Sundgren in the 44. Akulis takes over second. Sundgren back to third. Fourth is Carl Bubby Nagel. Here comes Colston with a big Ford on the high side. Williams retakes the lead out of turn number 2 down the backstretch. Here comes Akulis down on the inside. Williams up on the high side as they work out of turn 4. Williams picks up another lap, and here comes Akulis out of turn number 2. He gets the jump and takes over the lead on lap 26. Akulis working towards the front. Goes up on the high side of Tripp. High-low switch. Davenport down on the low side. 60X of Hill goes up high. Davenport has to back out of it. Hill is up on the high side of it, taking the high road to Kirkwood. It's the 880 and Davenport down low. Hill back up high as they come out of turn 4. Hill takes the high road to Kirkwood. Davenport down low. They come out of turn number 2. Way down on the inside. 4 wide down the backstretch. Steve Hill takes the lead in turn number 3. Davenport right there in his back bumper working on a turn 4, a new leader. Out of turn 4, front straightaway. Joe Peer takes it down through, 17 laps down. And here comes Bobby Woosman. Northrup on a high-low switch out of turn number 2. Northrup gets it a little sideways. Here comes the 8W. Bob Woosman up on the high side. Jimmy Gabriel Jr. right in there watching the 2. 2 laps to go this time by. 2 to go for Joe Peer. Northrop right there. Jimmy Gabriel Jr. slips underneath and takes over third. Wootsman on the high side. Here they come out of turn number 2. Northrop up on the high side into turn number 3. 3 wide. Peer comes out of turn number 4. It'll be white flag this time by one more time around the quarter mile. Peer takes it down into turn number 1.
You're watching the Race Report on Fox 40.
Graphics by Billy is pleased to announce the Win and You're In challenge. The challenge will reward one lucky Graphics by Billy customer at the end of the 2017 racing season with a free lettering job in 2018. Details can be found on the Graphics by Billy website, gbbsigns.com.
30 years of satisfied customers. That's the proud history of Brush and Pallet Auto in Candor. We have a large selection of cars, trucks, and SUVs. Here is this week's Car of the Week. We'll give you a $1,000 minimum trade-in, and we have financing options to fit your needs, including a first-time buyers program. Think you can't afford it? We think you can. Check us out at brush-pallet.com or visit us in person at 598 Oswego Road in Candor, New York.
Unicorn Electronics in the Valley Plaza, Johnson City has the best pricing and selection of audio, video, and computer cables in the area. Don't spend a fortune on that HDMI cable for your new HD TV or Blu-ray player. Unicorn Electronics has quality cables in the lengths you need at a price you can afford. Expanding your network? Unicorn has the patch cables and accessories to make it happen. When you need to connect, think Unicorn Electronics in the Valley Plaza, Johnson City.
98.1 The Hawk, number 1 for 20 in a row.
This is Jason Aldean.
Hot new country.
This is Luke Brown.
And kiss tomorrow goodbye.
This is Charles, Dave,
and Hillary.
And we are
Lady Annabella. And I don't know why you don't take me downtown anymore.
Binghamton's Hot New Country.
This is Carrie Underwood. Every tear soaked whiskey memory blown away.
Binghamton's Hot New Country. 98.1 The Hawk.
The track up I-88 Speedway was called Afton Raceway Park at the time, and that voice on the microphone, that would be Ed Billings.
Turning to Afton Raceway Park, Mike Clapperton picked up his first career victory behind the wheel of a modified. George Lewis had powered into the early lead at the green, but was sidelined one lap later with problems. This moved Dave Rosa up to the top spot. Rosa was overtaken by Mark Terry just 2 laps later, as Rosa slipped to second and Clapperton had moved into third. Clapperton soon overtook Rosa and set his sights on a strong running Terry. The 2 pilots battled for position with the lead changing hands several times. This division put on 17 great laps of caution-free racing with the cheering fans on their feet. Meanwhile, third-place runner Darren Schuler slowed on the back chute to bring out the event's first caution, and on the restart, Clapperton took over the lead. A strong run by Jamie Page moved him into second with 7 laps remaining. Page applied pressure to Clapperton but could not overtake him and had to settle for the runner-up spot. Clapperton's win adds yet another driver to the EL Tire Winner's Circle Classic to be held in September. Rounding out the top 10, following Page, was Joe Sellers across the line, Wink Hinckley and Dave Rosa. Completing the top 10 were Pat Schulis, Dwayne Hiller, Tony Wrench, J.R. Hurlbert, and Bill Tittle. Another first-time ever feature winner was Steve Alger in the street stock feature. Ed Ward started out the event as the early leader, but gave the lead up on lap 4 to Mike Buchek when he spun on the back chute. Buchek fought to stay on top, and Alger stayed right with him, with Gary Card back in third. These 3 cards distanced themselves from the rest of the field as they fought back and forth for position. Alger managed to hold them off for the well-deserved win. Buchek held on to second, with Card finishing third. Card's third-place finish has now put him atop the point lead in this division. as former point leaders Gary Roberts suffered problems early on in the 15-lap go. Completing the top 10 were Gary Card, Jerry Northrup, Al McCravey, Bob Newell, Pat Ward, Chris Cieli, and Jeff Norton. Last week's M&M Trophy Outstanding Effort Award winner Gary Smith made it 2 wins in a row in the 4-cylinder street stock division in his 7-Up machine. He took the lead from Rick Lashway on lap 8 and went on for the win. Following him across the line were Rick Ranger, Jim Weaver, John Lefevre, Jake Slack, Rick Lashway, John Kaspar, Randy Haynes, and Jamie Hurlburt.
Off turn 4 to signal out 2. That's to go. Here go for speed out to 1, 2 seconds. Here it comes. Henry's down into turn 1. Walter hangs on to lead 2 seconds. Thomas 4 in. Not able to release the tire. Getting right here to that window. Henry's coming that stretch. They get in turn 3. Get speed out to your leader. 2 seconds. Hold the on his back bumper. Steering car working the high side. Here they come. White flag. Up one more time around. Come on, go for speed out to 1, 2 seconds. The steering car. Pat Ward. They drifted through turn 3 and 4. Down off the 4th turn. Steve Alger out on top. Getting caught. Checkers in the air. Steve Alger picks up the win. Having it down in his turn 3 to 1 forward. Now. They come through turn 1. Carry across the lead as they work across it. Right forward and your new leader. He's got time to ball. One forward and all. Now 1 2 for 2. Turn 4 for 3.
Friday night at Penn Speedway. After more than 2 weeks of rainouts, a beautiful evening, they finally were able to get a full night of racing and their fireworks in. In the modified feature, Glenn Knapp jumped from his pole position into the top spot on the initial green and set the pace for most of the 30-lap modified feature. As the race developed, Butch Tittle charged from his 13th starting spot to move into second, and on lap 11, set the challenge to Glenn Knapp. Tittle tried every lap on the outside until lap 27, when Knapp slipped up in turn 2 and Tittle dove under for the advantage. Tittle went on to win the event. Carl Reynolds took over second on the final lap. Knapp held on for third, followed by Dick Marcinko and George Watson. In the 20-lap late model feature, Newt Holcomb jumped from his pole starting position into the lead. Holcomb battled up front with Kurt Tanillo, Scott Wilson, and Don Kellner. By lap 6, Warren Stone was charging from his 11th starting spot and had worked into the top 5. Stone worked through the top 5 spots, and on lap 10, Newt Holcomb's car slowed down the back chute. Tanillo went high, Stone went low in the speedway, and came up with the top spot. Stone went on to win over Scott Wilson, Tanillo, Larry DeLello, and Harry Marvin Jr.
Oh, the horsepower, you can hear it revving up. 27 modifieds about to cut loose. Here goes the late modified feature, 30 laps. And already trouble, Dan Heinlein, Mike Nagel, Rusty Harrington. Oh boy, look at them all over the speedway. Johnny Parks, George Suprick, Kirk Horton. Glenny Knapp driving the race of his life right now. He's out in front of a great field of modifieds here at Penn Speedway. Knapp gonna try to hold on, but Tittle may just be setting him up. Joey Donahue Jr. in trouble down the backstretch, slowing. Lots of problems with Joey Knapp. More contact. This time Meade and Harrington get together along with Donahue. They all bump. And here comes Tittle. Tittle now to the outside. Butch Tittle looks for the lead as the track caution lights come on once again. You could see it coming. We've got them together. Rusty Harrington, one of the cars involved. Boy, he was in a lot of contact. You could see it coming.
30 years of satisfied customers. That's the proud history of Brush and Pallet Auto in Candor. We have a large selection of cars, trucks, and SUVs. Here is this week's Car of the Week. We'll give you a $1,000 minimum trade-in, and we have financing options to fit your needs, including a first-time buyers program. Think you can't afford it? We think you can. Check us out at brush-pallet.com or visit us in person at 598 Oswego Road in Candor, New York.
For 3 generations, we've been building world-class American performance.
Like the new Edelbrock Power Package Top-End Kit, based on Edelbrock's powerful RPM crate engines. Each kit includes aluminum heads and intake, cam and lifters, gaskets, and hardware to build your own 400-plus horsepower Chevy small block. For 3 generations, it's pure American performance from the leader. Call now for your free Edelbrock catalog.
Edelbrock makes them right here in the USA.
Graphics by Billy is pleased to announce the Win and You're In Challenge. The challenge will reward one lucky Graphics by Billy customer at the end of the 2017 racing season with a free lettering job in 2018. Details can be found on the Graphics by Billy website, gbbsigns.com.
98.1 The Hawk, number 1 for 20 in a row.
This is Luke Bryan.
This is Eric Church.
This is Tim McGraw.
Binghamton's hot new country, 98.1 The Hawk.
What a field of street stocks they had at Tioga Speedway back in 1992. Tom Schwartz picked up the win.
Moving west to Tioga Speedway, it was a great night for this year's non-winners as 4 veterans of Victory Lane scored their premier wins of 1992. The night's racing action began with a make-up sportsman feature that was rain delayed 2 weeks ago, and veteran chauffeur Dave Nichols captured his first win since taking over the controls of the Joe Grasso-owned Wendy's Hamburgers number 12. At the drop of the green flag, it was a drag race for the lead between Nichols and the 17 of Terry Zacharias. Nichols took control on lap 3 with Zacharias battling back the challenges of Charlie Pike, Gary Ham, and Marty Palumbo. As the front runners jockeyed for position, Rick Zacharias in the 71 and Rick Youngs in the Elmira Heat treating number 24 were working their way through traffic from their 16th and 22nd starting spots. By the halfway point, both were in the top 5, along with Dan Kurziewski's number 21, while Nichols and Terry Zacharias continued to run 1-2. A lap 13 tangle sent Terry Zacharias to the pits, and on the restart, Rick Zacharias passed Kurziewski to move into the runner-up spot. Zacharias set his sights on the Wendy's machine and soon had closed the gap, but Nichols held his groove and Zacharias was not able to get around on the outside. As the checkered flag flew, it was Nichols, Zacharias, Kurziewski, Youngs, and Dave Osgood under the wire, followed by Chuck Hebing, Marty Palumbo, Fred Quayle, Doug Seaman, and Dan McCracken. The late model feature began in a shootout between Charlie Gilbert, Mike Epler, Rick Zacharias, Dave Osgood, Ed Spencer III, and Tracy Yeagle, with Yeagle moving into the lead on lap 3. In the meantime, defending late model champion Tom Schwartz was working the Crotto Transmission Plaza Motors number 07 toward the front, and on lap 6, Zacharias and Schwartz moved past Yeagle to run 1 and 2. On a lap 9 restart, Schwartz took the lead from Zacharias, and Alan Chapman moved the Factory Direct Homes number 15 past Zacharias for the number 2 spot. For the remainder of the 16 laps, fans were treated to some of the closest racing action all season on the fast half-mile oval. Schwartz would find Chapman's big red machine beside him for the remainder of the race, with the 2 battling side by side. Schwartz crossed the line ahead of Chapman with Zacharias 3rd, Bill Royer 4th, and Dwayne Ellis 5th. The balance of the top 10 included Dave Osgood, Chuck Winslow, Tracy Yeagle, Dave Jackson, and Bud Ellis. Tommy, congratulations on winning on midseason championship night and Jim Hickey's birthday. You got out there, you had Alan Chapman just in your rearview mirror all the way.
Yeah, I knew he was back there. We weren't handling all that good, but I knew if he was going to get me, he'd have to do it on the high side.
You have been working all year to get the Plaza Motors Kodo transmission machine running competitively. Tonight, some of the best lap times we've seen all year from you.
Well, we put new tires on the outside just before we went out for the feature, and that made the whole difference.
In the second half of the Sportsman doubleheader, Terry Youngs grabbed the lead from pole sitter Dick Woods on lap 3 and took command of the race, while Gordy Smith, Dan Krzyzewski, Dan McCracken, Dave Osgood, and Dave Nichols all fought for second. Smith moved into challenge, but Youngs held the number 23 down low and showed the rest of the field the fast way around the speedway. On lap 16, Dave Osgood moved the Dave's Motor Company number 45 past Smith to challenge Youngs for the lead. Youngs held on to score the first 1992 victory for the Elmira Heat Treating team, with Osgood second, Smith third, McCracken fourth, and Krzyzewski fifth. Rounding out the top 10 were Dave Nichols, Jimmy Humanick, Chuck Hebing, Dave Jackson, and Gary Round.
Terry, a great night. I know you had trouble with both team cars tonight, but now here you are in victory lane.
Yeah, we're really tickled. I've had problems with my car for the last 3 weeks, and our crew guys have worked real hard, and they got to handle them pretty good in the feature. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Elmira Heat Treating, R.D. Weiss Construction, Smith Paulson and his family, the Horses Do It Center, the Sports Den, and our whole pit crew.
In the final feature event of the evening, the NASCAR Modifieds took to the Speedway, and 23 of the 600 horsepower monsters roared down the home chute to take the green flag. A first lap caution sent 3 cars to the back of the lineup, and on the restart, Tom Zacharias jumped into the lead. As the field approached the 6th lap mark, Ed Conneran made a bold move past Wary Nye and Zacharias for the lead, but just 1 lap later, Tim Connolly, in his second Tioga Speedway appearance of 1992, swooped past the trio to take over the number 1 spot. With Connolly in command, Lee Sherwood and Charlie Rudolph, the only 2 modified winners at Tioga Speedway this season, were steadily working their way toward the front, as was Chris Ammon in the Superior Disposal number 58. By lap 10, Sherwood had moved into the number 2 spot and began closing in on Connolly. Sherwood, Rudolph, and Ammon all closed in on the leader, and a 4-car battle to the finish began. With just 3 laps remaining, Ammon got past Rudolph for third, and with just 1 lap to go in the 30-lap event, Sherwood made his bid for the lead on the outside of Connolly. Connolly was up to the challenge, however, and held on for the win, while Ammon and Rudolph used the open inside lane to move under Sherwood. At the wire, it was Connolly, Ammon, Rudolph, Sherwood, Tom Zacharias, followed by Darrell Lewis, Ed Conneran, Gary Wentz, Mike Marolo, and Jim Zacharias. Moving to the Oswego Speedway, first in the limited super modifieds, the winner, Russ Brown, his second win of 1992. Darrell Nichols was the runner-up, followed by Fred Taylor, Bob Gutermout, and Ron Hinson. Completing the top 10 were Tim Garou, Dave Tritak, Don Whalen, Jason McDougall, and Tom Jodway.
Coming down out of turn number 4, green flag is out down the front chute. Taylor getting side by side into one, slips a little bit behind. Here's Jodway making a good move to the inside. Tom Jodway, the number 74, grabs off the lead. Donnie Whalen on the inside, takes over third. Down between 3 and 4, Coteri inside, Giddings outside, Nichols looking for room. A 3-car battle going for the lead. Here's Brown now, looking to the inside of Freddie Taylor. Brown on the inside of Taylor, trying to make his claim come true. He predicted a win tonight. He's underneath Taylor down the back straight. Gutermout trying to follow him through. Gutermout and Brown on the inside, Taylor the outside, Nichols trying to close ground from behind. 10 laps down now, 15 to go. Your race leader is Russ Brown. Darrell Nichols now again looks to the inside. Russ Brown on the outside. Nichols working him over. White flag comes out this time. It's Russ Brown, the race leader. Darrell Nichols in second, 20.4. Gutermout back on the outside, trying to mount a charge. Freddie Taylor hangs on. Down into the third turn. It is Russ Brown, Darrell Nichols, Freddie Taylor nose to tail. Here's Darrell's last shot at it. He looks to the inside, sets in behind, comes to the outside. Brown gets the win. Nichols second, Taylor third.
In the Piscatel Stone Super 45 for the Super Modifieds, Bentley Warren in victory lane. Russ Wood was second, Mike Ordway third, Dave McKnight fourth, and Eddie Bellinger fifth. Completing the top 10 were Mike Brubaker, Jeff West, Steve Joya, Eric Lewis, and Howard Page. Here's the voice of Roy Silva to call the action.
Green flag is out from Jerry Kritzman down across the stripe. It is Ritzkus getting a jump out front. Look at Hamilton going to the inside. Abold goes to the outside, finds room, and goes 2-3 wide on a turn two. Now has to back down in the groove. He's running on the outside of Mike Ordway. Between the corners out in front, it is the number 3 of Randy Ritzkus, the 18. Running down. Bentley Warren, Pat Abold running in the outside groove. Down on the inside, trying to find room, it is Steve Joya and Joe Gosick. Down between the corners, one car into the pits. It is the 0 of Hal the Tulip. The number 3, Randy Ritzkus, a 17-9. Howie Page, Mike Brubaker, Dave McKnight, and now Steve Joya. Rounding out the top 5, Jeff West and Gene Lee Gibson, 6th and 7th. Here comes Go Joe, Gosick, and Ordway trying to make a run. The 00 and the number 1. Boy, they go 3 wide through the corner down there as McKnight and Joya both look for racing room. They'll come around this time, 10 laps to go. Bentley trying to light up those tires. Wood looks to the inside. Wood's got a bite on him. Russ Wood trying to take the lead. Russ Wood looking for his first ever Oswego Speedway Super Modified feature victory. Bentley Warren, who always takes time to get heat in the tires, now puts the hammer down on the outside. Bentley battles back. He takes the lead. Bentley Warren, with a tremendous move, takes the lead. Here's Bentley to the outside of Bobby Smith and on by. White flag is out for Bentley Warren. Across the stripe, 17-282. As he had to take his time to get by the 48 of Bobby Smith. Here comes the 75 of Gene Lee Gibson. But the white flag is out. The race is over for all intended purpose. Checkered flag comes out. The win goes to Bentley Warren.
Racing lost one of its greats with the passing of Gordy Isham. This Saturday in Windsor, from 1 until 4 o'clock at the Community Center, there will be a celebration of life. I love the last sentence in his memorial. In lieu of flowers, take a friend to lunch. Don't forget to sign up for the Graphics by Billy contest. You could win a great graphics job on your race car for the 2018 season. And that's all we have time for the entire staff of the Race Report. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the blast from the past. Until next week, I'm Ron Hills, and I'll see you at the races.